Hello there, my name's Claire and this is Stitchem. So thank you so much for joining me today for another video. Now today's video is all about the sewing challenge that has been run in the month of October, which is being hosted by the lovely Karen from Sew Little Time and Becky from Notes from the Sewing Room. And the challenge is called #SewUpcycle22. Now I'm sure you've probably all heard of this fantastic challenge by now. We're right at the end of the month in October. I'm filming this a little bit ahead of time because what I'd like to do is sort of start my video with some previous upcycles that I've done, then talk through a few plans that I've got, and then what I'll do is I'll pop on again later on in the month to show you what I've made, because as I say, my video is coming out on the 29th of October. So I thought that it would be really good, but at that point, to be able to show you what I had planned, but also what I've made. So I hope that's okay, and I hope you enjoy the video. So I'm just going to whistle through what the challenge is about, because you would have heard this lots and lots of times before, I'm sure by now. So the idea is that you sew a garment for a human being, not a pet, from something that is pre-loved, basically. So it could be a ready-to-wear garment, it could be something that you've made previously for yourself or somebody else, it could be a tablecloth, a pair of curtains, a bedspread, it could be something from a charity shop. Basically just an item that isn't a piece of fabric from your stash, basically, or a piece of fabric that you've bought specifically for an item, and that you sew it up into an item. You then basically post on Instagram on the 31st of March with a photo of what it used to look like and a photo of what you've turned it into, and use that hashtag #SewUpcycle22, tagging in Becky and Karen. So that's Becky, who is Notes from a Sewing Room, and Karen from Sew Little Time, so that they can see your fantastic makes. And that's about it really. I will include a picture up here of all the rules and everything. I'm going to link Becky and Karen's YouTube channels and their Instagram and everything up below for you as well, so that you can check all of that out. So please do get involved in the challenge. I really hope you have been, and I really hope you enjoy seeing what I've got to talk to you about today. So one more piece of admin before I get cracking on what I've sewn in the past in terms of upcycling. If you are looking to show any sneaky peeks of your makes before the reveal date on the 31st of October, then please do use the hashtag #SewUpcycle22 WIP, WIP, which basically stands for work in progress. So let's have a little look about what I've made in the past. Now, I haven't done a whole lot of upcycling in the past in terms of making things into garments. I've certainly turned things into kind of more crafty type projects and things, but not necessarily a huge amount of upcycling into garments. And that is definitely something that I want to look at doing more of in the future, because actually I really quite enjoy the challenge of it. So I was having a think about what I have done, and I think largely the main amounts of things that I've done in relation to turning things into a garment is in relation to just changing a size of a t-shirt from like an adult size t-shirt into something for my boys. And one of the examples I have of that is this t-shirt here. This was originally a t-shirt for my was my husband's, that was a ready to wear t-shirt, and I changed chopped it up and sewed up a t-shirt for my older son. And I used every single element of the t-shirt, in the fact that I used the already hemmed sleeves. Well, obviously I cut it down to a smaller size. Again, I used the on the hem on the actual t-shirt there, that's from the original t-shirt, and I unpicked the neckband on the original t-shirt. Because this is like a more of a viscose jersey, I didn't want to make the neckband out of the actual this t-shirt fabric, whereas the fabric that they've used for the neckband is more of kind of a slightly different type of fabric. It's more of a rib fabric that was obviously they'd printed it with the same design as the t-shirt so that it all matched. So I wanted to use that for the neckband, and that worked out quite nicely. Took a little bit of work, I have to say, to take it off the t-shirt, but it was worth doing. And so that is an example, and I've done a few of those over the time of having my two boys, but that was the only one that was still in the drawers that is being used or wasn't in the wash. So apologies not to show you more. Another thing that I have done, and this you wouldn't be able to use for the actual challenge because it's not a garment, but it's just something that I have sewn up in the past, so I just thought I'd show it to you. Now this again was one of my husband's t-shirts, and it was some, I don't even know what some cartoon that he likes to watch, and he really liked the t-shirt, but it had gone, I don't know, it had lost its shape, or it had shrunk upwards, or something had happened to it. So I turned it into this bag for him. So I used the front of the t-shirt with the pattern on, or the illustration on, for the main body of it, and then on the inside I used the back of the t-shirt, and I've just used some fusible foam to give it its sort of firmness to it. And so yeah, that turned out quite well really. I made this right at the beginning of when I was starting to sew again, and when I got myself a sewing machine back in sort of 2000, and I hadn't really thought about the fact that you wouldn't really use a stretch fabric for such an item, but because I put it onto, or ironed it onto fusible foam, obviously then that made it much more stable, and so actually it doesn't matter that it's got a stretch to it because I've turned it essentially into a woven fabric. This was a pattern that I got from watching a YouTube tutorial. I don't know whether I'll be able to find it, but if I can I will link it in the description box below. It is a really great pattern because all the seams are, maybe I'd see it because it's black, all the seams are enclosed, so that it was a bit of a fiddle to get it under the sewing machine with the expandable, it's not expandable foam, oh my goodness, that's a DIY project, with the fusible foam, but yeah, somehow I managed to make it work. And so yeah, that was one that I did make out of an upcycled garment, if you like, but obviously you can't use that type of thing for this particular challenge. So on to some items that I've found that I could possibly upcycle. So the first items are two t-shirts, again that were previously my husband's t-shirts. As you can see, he is a bit of a big kid, he's a gamer, he likes cartoony type things, and he's got this particular t-shirt, and then there's one that has got that is just this type of t-shirt, and I've forgotten what you call it, like an army person would wear. What was that called? It's gone from my mind. Right, and but this feels a bit boring to me, so I'm probably not going to go with these, but it's an option of, you know, resizing to make it into something smaller. I mean, I guess there is potential you could colour bot, but I don't particularly like those together. Meh, we'll see what happens, but it's probably less likely. Then I've got this dress. This was a ready-to-wear garment that I bought years and years ago. It's a must have come from Debenhams because it's a Russia John Russia dress. Just a floral wrap sort of faux wrap style dress. It's got a tie at the back. There's a reasonable amount of fabric in there, a viscose fabric, I guess, a viscose jersey I would have thought. Not sure what it says on the label. Yeah, viscose and elastane. 96% viscose and 4% elastane. So something that I could possibly turn into a top or a skirt, or just change the length of it. I've never particularly liked it on me because it's like it was like a midi length. Yeah, I wore it a little bit when I was pregnant, because actually I've always found this particular dress kind of showed off my lumps and bumps in ways that I didn't like. But obviously when I was pregnant, having a big tummy was no longer an issue, because you're supposed to have a big tummy at that point in your life. So I didn't feel self-conscious wearing it, but it isn't a maternity dress. But other than that, I don't think I've ever really worn this dress, which is a bit of a shame, because I do like the fabric in terms of the print on it, but yeah, it's never one that I've particularly loved. And then the next item is not a garment currently, it's actually some curtains. I've got a pair of this green velvet curtains. So loads of material, because this is just one curtain. So I'm going to put it over me like that. And I am thinking of trying to make some sort of jacket or shacket or coatigan or something along those lines, of which I haven't really completely decided what I'm going to do. They are lined, but just with a white cotton fabric. This is a combination of polyester, curtain fabric, 100% cotton, lining fabric, 50% polyester and 50% cotton. So this actually is all cotton in terms of the actual the curtain itself. So yeah, not quite sure. Time will tell, and we shall see what I decide to turn this into. And hopefully by the end of the video, when I come back, I will be modelling something out of these items. Or probably if I make something out of the t-shirts, it'll probably be for one of my boys. If I make something out of the dress, it will be for me. And if I make something out of these curtains, again, it will be for me. So as I say, watch this space and I'll be back with you by the end of the month. Hello there and welcome back to the second part of my video for Sew Upcycle 2022, which is a lovely challenge being run by the lovely Karen from So Little Time and Becky from Notes from the Sewing Room. Now, it's been a couple of weeks since I recorded the first part of my video where I talked about some plans that I had, some possible ideas of things that I could make for this lovely challenge. Now, I've made one item and I went with the pair of curtains that I showed you in the first part of the video. So I've gone full Sound of Music and I have made the item that you can see in the background behind me. Now this is the Jessie Coatigan from Sew Over It. It's a pattern that I've made before, so I thought that was quite frugal using a pattern that I've already made, because then I didn't have to pay for that side of things as well. And yeah, so I've made the Jessie Coatigan, and because I'd made it before, I knew that I needed to just make one tweak to that pattern, which was to slightly lengthen the sleeves on it a little bit longer, just so that they came down a little bit more and was a bit more cozy. So in a minute I will bring that coat down and talk you through it, but before I do that, I'll just pop up some sizes for the Jessie Coatigan up on the screen. It's really quite a size inclusive pattern, I believe, so I'll pop all those details along the screen now just so that you can see those. And as I say, it is a pattern that I've made once before. I'll pop a picture in of me in the coat that I made previously, which was quite a cheap, well, inexpensive, shall we say, fabric that I'd bought just to kind of try out the pattern before. I think it was at the beginning of the year, and there was a few things that I wasn't quite sure about with it in terms of I'd used contrasting pocket bags, which I wasn't too sure about because of it being a side slit type pocket. So this time I've gone with the same fabric for the pockets. Now just bear with me, I'll get the item down so I can just talk about it in a little bit more detail. So the Jessie Coatigan by Sew Over It. This is a really lovely pattern to sew up. It sews up quite nicely. There's a couple of things in it in terms of the instructions that I'm not particularly keen on. I think the way they tell you to do the pockets is more fiddly than it needs to be, and I don't like the type of photos they've taken within it. The fabric that they've shown within the step-by-step instructions is quite difficult to see what they actually mean. I think what they actually need to do, and I think maybe they do this now, I think they do diagrams within their pattern instructions, or I think if you're going to do photos as part of instructions, they need to be very clear, and they also need to have some level of kind of annotation over the actual photograph to show you where they mean for you to sew. It's not a problem obviously because I've sewn it before, and because I've been sewing for a little while now, it wasn't an issue, but I think it makes it, I think for a beginner it would make it would be a little bit head scratching at moments. That's not to say I don't think that you could sew it up as a beginner, because I do. There is a sew along on the Sew Over It YouTube channel, and I believe they may have literally within the last week done another sew along, which I haven't looked at yet, but that might be well worth checking out if you're looking to sew up this pattern. Now in terms of my finished item, I'm going to pop in some pictures of me wearing the coat, cardigan, and I think I've got a little bit of footage as well if that's come out okay. Is the item comfortable? Yes. Do I feel comfortable in it? Not so much. Do I still feel like I'm wearing a pair of curtains? A little bit. So I don't know, maybe it's one of those ones that I just need to get used to. It's not necessarily a fabric that I necessarily wear a lot of, it being velvet. Maybe it's just the wrong choice of fabric for this particular pattern. I think it'd be really nice in a really cozy boucle. In fact, I have got some fabric like that, but obviously that wasn't the purpose of this challenge. It was to make an item out of something that already had a purpose, you know, it had already been pre-loved, if you like. And you know, this was a pair of curtains that had been sat in a cupboard for a really long time. Someone had given them to me and my husband when we first moved into a house and we didn't have any curtains, and they're not particularly ones that I particularly loved, and over time obviously we'd upgraded and gone for something that was more our style. So these were kind of hanging around still. So when this challenge came up, I thought, well, maybe I can make something that I like about it. But I think I can just see curtains when I wear it. Maybe it's the shape of it. Maybe it's just the wrong fabric for the pattern. Maybe it's a combination of all the things. But it's not my biggest success, I don't think. It was quite an enjoyable sew. You do there's a reasonable amount of hand stitching if that's what you want to do, and I've sort of done all of that on the inside and everything, and along the hem I've also slip stitched that, and the sleeves, those have all been slip stitched. So yeah, I don't really know what to say. I want to really like it. I think that it could be really cozy. Sorry, it doesn't go with this at all. I have tried it on with this previously. Oh, and my slip stitching hasn't quite worked. Maybe it's just too big. Maybe it's just too much like a curtains. I don't know. But this is not to say that I wouldn't use bedding or curtains in the future to make things. There's some beautiful designs out there, particularly sort of duvet covers and things. Is a great way of getting quite a large piece of fabric for you know, making dresses or whatever garment you're looking to make with, and it's quite a cost-effective way of doing it, even if you were to buy it sort of brand new. Obviously, again, that's not the purpose of this challenge. So let me know in the comments below what you think of this, like my Jessie Cotigan, or should I say my Jessie Curtains. Yeah, I don't know whether it's a hit, shall we say. I think it's a sewing fail. I mean, not in the sense of, you know, obviously I've made it, it's constructed, but whether or not I love it that much. I mean, I think I like it more than I liked the curtains. Maybe it's the colour, although I do like green. I mean, I wear green a lot. Maybe it's the shade of green. Maybe it's just that it was curtains. Anyway, I've really enjoyed this challenge. I've loved thinking about things that I could make. I've loved watching everybody else's, and I'm really looking forward to looking at the hashtag on the 31st. Couldn't remember how many days of the month there was then, on the 31st of October. So do head over to Instagram on the 31st, pop on your finish make along with a picture of what it looked like previously, and yeah, it would just be so great to see all of those lovely creative makes. I'm sure people have been super creative. Hopefully other people are really pleased with their garments too. And I just want to say a really big thank you to Becky and to Karen for arranging the challenge. It's been really fun to take part in. The sewing community is just fantastic, and it's always really good fun to get involved in these challenges. So even though this isn't necessarily my favourite make, it definitely won't stop me upcycling in the future, and it definitely won't stop me taking part in challenges in the future as well. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. I do hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please do give me a like. If you haven't subscribed, I'd really love it if you would consider doing so. But until next time, take care. Happy sewing. Bye bye.